Can the cat do coordinating in the junkyard? No. Okay, cat, you die.
Welcome everybody to Reggie Fox. Yes. So we got so much going on. I want to thank everyone who has liked and subscribed as we're getting close to 1,000K subscribers. And you're really turning out for the polls. We got round 2. We know it looks like the deadline is just 24 hours away. It looks like it's going to be Osgood. So we got Gus round 1, Osgood round 2. Round 3 will be coming up. I promise the tournament's only going to get better, and I can't wait to see who is the best one-and-done character in all time. Today, we're doing episode breakdown. Oh, my gosh. You know, the episode itself, in my opinion, is somewhere in the 7s. I would not put this top 20. No, I would not. Mary is a very memorable character, and the awkwardness between Fred and Mary when Lamont's like walks over to Fred when they open the door, and he's all, she's white. And Fred's like, yeah, I think I know. I could tell. So that's the best part of it. And I think the chemistry between Mary and Fred is excellent. It's funny, but the overall episode has some funny parts. But either way, it's not a top 20, but it's still a very good episode. So as we get to that, let's get to the Lighthouse Keeper. We'll get to summary, quick summary, fun facts, familiar faces. Today it'll just be Mary. And then we will also get to the episode breakdown. So let's get right to it without wasting any time. The summary of this is Fred basically is hurt. He's got one arm in a sling, another arm he's on a crutch with his leg. He can't do anything. Fred, he fell off the truck. So they got to get someone to help because Lamont can't go out and do work while staying home and taking care of Fred. 2 jobs, too many. And he's already been home 2 days. So they call out a service and Mary comes out. It's awkward. Fred doesn't like it. He thinks she's going to come after him for his body and all these things. And can Fred get through it? Is she bigger help than not? So that's the whole premise of the episode. Now, fun facts. We got a couple. Finally, I love when we get some fun facts. There's a whole story in this where Fred breaks down how he got hurt. How Lamont, we'll cover the whole story, but it's basically, he says, look, you stopped to save a cat. And Fred, Red Fox in real life had this in a comedy act where he would say, look, I'm not stopping for an animal, a cat, a dog, something in the street. I'm not stopping for it when I can damage my vehicle or the passenger or myself. I'm more important, and my vehicle's more important than an animal running through the street. It was a huge comedy bit. He actually works it in this episode, and I think being a cat person and a dog person and an animal person in general myself, it still cracks me up. I don't take any offense. It's very funny. And there's reasoning behind it. I can't wait to get to it. But all that in this is based on an actual comedy act Red Fox did. Okay, fun fact number 2. This is the last of only 2 appearances of Aunt Ethel, played by B. Richards. She comes in this. You know, it's so funny. I just watched Murder, She Wrote, not even the other day, and B. Richards was in the episode. So when I saw her, I said, hey, there's Aunt Ethel. I love it when we get these characters that we originate from Sanford and Son and seen other shows. Either way, B. Richards, we already broke her down before in another one, so she's not in familiar faces in this one. But this is only her last of 2 appearances as Aunt Ethel, and it's a very good one. Very good one. This one's better than her other one, in my opinion, when she tries to butter Fred up at the first episode of season 2 with the pigtails and she wants to borrow money. This one is really good, so we'll cover that in the episode. But those are the 2 fun facts. Now, familiar faces, that is Mary Wickers, who, of course, plays the same name, Mary. She's been in a bunch of things. We'll pick up probably the most popular for her. She was in the movie White Christmas. She was in Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg, part 1 and part 2. So we know she's done some other movies. Hunchback of Notre Dame, she did, I think it's Lauren, or Lauren, yeah, I think it's Lorraine or Lauren. She did the voice of that character in the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame. So she was big time in movies. Shows, she did Punky Brewster and Highway to Heaven. There's a bunch of other ones, but not as mainstream as possibly Punky Brewster and Highway to Heaven were. So that is it with From Mary and Familiar Faces. Let's get on to the episode breakdown. Here we go. Fred gets hurt. We open up where Fred's coming and he's screaming for Lamont because he's got no breakfast and he's in the crutch and he's got the sling on his arm and you can see that he's hurt. And Lamont comes down. And he's like, hey, what do you want? He's not happy. They're bickering. And Lamont's like, I can only do so much. You know, I'm making the beds. I'm cleaning up. I still got to get ready to try to go to work. I haven't been on the truck for 2 days. So Fred's like, I just want my breakfast. You know, I can't do everything. I can't even do anything. I'm walking around. I'm hurt. And he's all, this is your fault. He said, if you didn't break for that dang cat, you cat lover. And then I love Lamont. He's like, come on, Dad. He said, or Pop, you know you would do that too. And he said, oh, would I? And then the way he says it, we'll put a clip in there. It's the best.
Can the cat cook? Can the cat do coordinating in the junkyard? No. Okay, cat, you die.
And then how he sits there and how he's breaking it down where he's like, well, I would sit there and ask myself, can the cat cook? Can the cat coordinate? No? Okay, cat, you die. I love it. The way Fred does it. Just the way he says it where he's all, you die. It's basically, nope, it's over. I don't care. You're not going over it. So that is a great scene, a great bit of dialogue that obviously I think Red Fox wrote this part or he worked it into the act. But yeah, you can see why Fred's pissed. And Lamont's like, hey, you know what, Dad? He comes in, he gives him or before he gets the breakfast, he told him, hey, I was going to get Aunt Ethel to come stay with you. And Fred doesn't want that. And then he says, well, she couldn't. So I got a maid service to send someone over. Fred's like, oh, man, I don't want that. She's going to be trying to do sexual, come and attack me and stuff. And he's like, no one's going to do that. He said, you would be excited if something like that happened. And then there's a knock at the door, and Lamont's like, oh, I hope it's her. Opens it up, and it's Aunt Ethel, and she comes in, and they have some good dialogue. Lamont's like, excuse me, Aunt Ethel, I thought you couldn't make it. I'm going to go get breakfast. She's like, oh, I couldn't. I just came over to basically ridicule Fred and have a good time. And she's laughing, and she's all, look at you. You look like something else. And then they start going back and forth, and it so reminds me of Esther, who we're getting next week. Yeah, I can't wait. There she is right there. She's been with us every week, but we'll get her next week. But as she sits there, she's all, don't talk about my family. He's like, because remember he said she stumbled on the wedding. He said, no, that wasn't me stumbling. That was me hesitating whether or not I wanted to get married into Elizabeth's family when I looked at you guys. She's like, don't talk about my family. And then they say you were the ugliest family in Detroit. And then you came to St. Louis and took the the insults are so good. They're so funny yet so simple. Like Fred, simple-minded, right? And then the best part of that whole exchange, we'll have a clip right here.
Like one across your lip. I got one arm free, and I give you one across your lip.
You better not try.
If I wasn't crippled, I would.
If you weren't crippled, I'd make you one.
The way she says that, as he says it, and Fred's like, oh, you know what, I'm crippled. The way she says it perfectly, you can see it on her face. Excellent acting right there by B. She's like, if you weren't crippled, I'd make you one. And I believe every second, right? I used to say sometimes when you hear her in the first one, she didn't seem as tough, but she seems pretty tough in this one. She seems like she could take on Fred. And then Fred threatens her, and he's about to throw the crutch at her, and she takes off. So that's the last time we ever see her. Disappointingly. I guess you'd think you could have brought her back for a few episodes. Maybe she's such a presence. Because all the other family members that come over when Esther's there, they don't ever seem as strong, as intimidating as Esther. Maybe with her, I don't know. Either way, goodbye. Thank you, B. Richards, for a memorable character, 2 appearances. You can't be in the best one and done tournament. So then Lamont comes out and he's like, where'd she go? Oh, she took off. And he's like, okay. And he gets and Fred's like, man, I don't like my eggs sunny side up. He said, how you want them? Sunny side down. And Lamont brilliantly picks it up and flips it over. Great scene. And then there's a knock at no. I love this line. I got to get this line right. As he's eating the food, he's like, look at this, man. There's so much ash. Like you basically burned it. It looks all black. And he's like, well, I'll eat it. And Lamont's like, how you go wobble in there and make your own breakfast. He's like, all right, I'll eat it. He said, you know what they say? You are what you eat.
Dan, you are what you eat. So I guess I'll make an ass out of myself. You get that?
So he said, I guess I might as well make an ash out of myself. And then as Fred does throughout show history, he's like, ash, see how I did it? I made an ash out of him. And Lamont's like, I got it. I love when they do that. And it goes all the way to season 6. They bust that gag. And Lamont's always good at, I got it. Remember the, oh, Donna, baby, season 6. I'll have your money back to you Tuesday. And he's like, see, oh, to Donna. Lamont's like, I got it, Dad. I got it. I love that gag. So after that, now there's a knock at the door, and Lamont answers it, and it's Mary, and she comes in, and she's like, hey, I'm here, Mr. Sanford, you need... And then Lamont, that's when he gives her a look, and then Fred's shaking his head like, oh, man. And then she comes over, and he's like, she's white, Dad. Pop. He's like, yeah, I know, I could tell. I could see that when she came in. So he sits there, and it's kind of awkward, but he's like, yeah, go ahead, you can stay. And then Lamont's like, I got to take off. And now Fred's like, oh, goodness, I'm here left alone with her. And he sits down. He's sitting down on his seat. And then Mary's up in the upstairs cleaning. She comes down. And right away, she's already like, oh, man. Grabs up a chair, sits next to Fred, makes herself at home, lights up a cigarette with one of the biggest One of the biggest lighters. Right? I seen those like when high school friends would smoke. They would turn it up real high as a gag, try to look cool. Mary's doing that in the 70s, man. So she started it, but she's got that flamethrower torch and she lights it. Fred's like, yeah, you can smoke. Just don't burn us down. Great line. And then they start talking just about, he's like, yeah, I bet you don't get a lot of people, like us in our neighborhood. And she's like black folks. She's all, money's green, black, color's color, doesn't matter to me. And you can tell, honestly, I don't think at any time Mary character is offended or nervous or nothing. She looks like a person who just treats anyone from wherever you're at, any walk of life. She just treats you as a normal person. I don't think she has any bigotry inside of her. Her character portrays like that. And so it's really cool. And then Fred's like, yeah, I got white friends. I got friends who are white. And he busts that line out. We've all heard the opposite where, a lot of my friends are black. And she's like, oh, really? And he tells him about Goldstein. And not only is he white, he's Jewish. Oh, double win for Fred. So he's trying to fit in. And he even says that he thinks Jack Dempsey could have beat Joe Louis. That's a huge debate. Even now, you can look that up. And it's a huge thing where they say Jack Dempsey was probably a little faster, especially with the feet. Joe Louis was possibly quicker hands, almost as strong as Dempsey's punch, but a much better boxer. So it's one of those things we'll never get to see, but it's great to talk about, great to debate. But Fred, we know he only said it just because he wanted to look like he was on Mary's side to make her feel comfortable, like he doesn't hate whites or anything like that. Great scene, because it's so believable. And then Mary gets up. No answer at the phone, and then she sits back down on the couch. Or he's telling her, hey, why don't you go take a break? Go take a break on the couch. Because she got up and she started giving him a rub. The rub on the shoulders. And Fred's face is so good. His eyes get big. He's so uncomfortable. And he's like, hey, Mary, yeah, why don't you go take a break? You don't have to be doing stuff all the time. And then she starts snoring when Fred's trying to talk. He's trying to... So you can see she's probably exhausted. He tells her, hey, I know you got to get up early. And that's what I said. A lot of this episode, it's got real funny parts. When it's funny, it's really funny. When it's not, it just, even that part where Fred's talking, he's just trying to be relatable. It's just, I don't feel like you're getting a lot of character development. You're just getting, I don't know. So there are parts of this episode that I do find kind of boring at times. But still funny. She wakes up and no one's on the phone. Then and he's like, hey, say it's Sanford residence, because people aren't used to a woman answering. She's looking around like, residence? Yeah, this looks like a junkyard. But she's like, okay, whatever you want. And she calls, and I love this line. This is, like I said, when it's funny, it's funny. I'll have the clip right here.
Fred, who is it? Who is it? Bubba. What's a Bubba?
When she says that, when she's all, Bubba, what's a Bubba? And then Fred gets to it. And I love the exchange where Fred's like, yeah, no, it's not that. No, it's nothing like that, Bubba. If I could do that, I wouldn't need a maid. He's not hooking up with her. And then she's like, it's Mary. And she comes out and he's like, no, she's not a sister. And then he's like, oh, Bubba wanted to know if you were my sister. You were a sister. And she's all, Bubba doesn't sound too bright. And he's all, no, he's about my color. That's probably one of the best lines in the whole episode when he says that. Like I said, there's some real funny lines, and that's got to be one of the most memorable. If anyone's watching, you'll probably see it in the comments. Anytime you talk about Mary, it's, what's a Bubba? He's about my color. So with Mary, she goes back in the kitchen, and now Fred, remember, she already went to get him a Coke, and she broke the Coke bottle, gave him water, so she's ruining his stuff. And he's like, no, you don't have to pay, and he's sitting down. And then she comes out and gets the pillow ready. She's going to do an adjustment and check him. And then Lamont comes walking in. And it is so awkward. She's there and Fred's just like, and then she's even getting him a look. And Lamont's like, what am I walking into? Why is Mary sitting next to your lap on the floor? Very awkward for Lamont. And he's like, yeah, come on, son, come on. And he comes in and she takes off. And that's when Fred's like, he's like, oh, thank you, Mary. Yeah, oh, perfect, Mary. We have to fire Mary. The way he says it is so good. And Lamont's like, we can't just fire her. And he said, besides, who are we going to get? He's like, look, no, you can come back. He said, I can't, Dad. He's like, we got to get rid of her. And then Lamont comes in. He's like, say, how's the weather? Mary, you're fired. And then Lamont calls her and he's like, we could, use some rain. And she's like, yeah, I guess we could use some rain. And he's like, if it rains tomorrow, Mary, you don't have to come in. She's like, oh, I got an umbrella. And then it's kind of awkward. I love Fred. He's like, he leans forward. He's kind of like still hiding behind the line. He's like, no, what he's saying, Mary, is that if it doesn't rain, you don't have to come in tomorrow. It's meant to be just a simple line, but it's very funny. And she's like, oh, you don't need me anymore. So she gets her stuff and she's out of there. And they're like, hey, here's your pay. Lamont's like, here's a couple bucks, take a cab. She's like, oh, you don't have to do that. And Fred's like, yeah, you don't have to do that. He doesn't want to pay the extra money. And she's like, yeah, but I'll take it. So she takes it. And I love how when she leaves, she's like,
I think you're wrong. Joe Louis could have beat the hell out of Jack Dempsey.
like, you know what, Mr. Sanford, what we were talking about, I think you're wrong. I think Joe Louis could beat the hell out of Jack Dempsey. And it's great. And that I believe that when Mary says it. When Fred says it, we know, knowing Fred, it's not believable. You know he's just saying that. When Mary says it, I really believe she believes that. And that's what I like about her character, is that she's just honest. She's, hey, money's green and everyone, we're all people. And that's, I think, a great, refreshing character for this show, because you don't see that too often in the show. So Mary takes off. That's it. And then Fred, I love it. He's going around checking the kitchen. Did she steal anything? Did you see that bag? She took something. Then he goes to check the truck. So no, she never steals anything. The next morning, he's on there and he's like, okay, you need to do, I got to go, Dad. And then Lamont's like, or Fred's like, no, don't. And he's like, all right, I'm going to call the services and get Mary back over here. And Fred's like, no. And he jumps up and he can run and his arm's out of the sling. And Lamont's like, so you're not as hurt as you let on. So it turns out Fred was just pulling old Gus. He pulled the Gus routine and Lamont didn't see through it, where he should have been like, oh, I need another, can you give me some cold beer, son? But that's the episode. Like I said, there's when it comes to breaking it down, it's basically the cat story, which is funny, Mary coming in, the awkwardness, and then some really good funny lines, and that's about it. It's not a memorable one. It's not one I would recommend. Hey, have you ever seen Sanford and Son? No. Oh, check this one out with this girl Mary, because you don't really get in depth of Fred. You don't get a lot of Fred and Lamont really going back and forth. There's no Esther, which we will, but I'm saying Ethel's great, but it's not one I would recommend. It's, it's not a top 20, probably not even top 30. But please, now, every time I say that, someone goes, oh, yes, I love you did this. This is one of my favorite episodes. If this is one of your favorite episodes, I don't take offense. It's just one that's not my favorite. That's what I love, and I comment this all the time. That's what I love about this show, is that my top 10 might have 2 of your top 10, and the next 8 you don't care about. Your top 10 could be Sanford Siege, right here, West Side Story, anything. Choo Choo Berenovitz, whatever, when Fred goes for the record, any of those episodes, those could be your favorite, and it's not mine. That's what's so great, is Sanford and Son has so many different types of stories and humor, yet we all love the whole show, and we love the characters as a whole. So, yes, put in the comments if it's one of your favorite episodes, right on. If it's not, if you agree with me, let me know as well. And please like our videos to just get it up there to know that, hey, let YouTube know, hey, people like this video, and more people will get to experiment with it, experience it, and help our channel grow as we continue to push everything Sanford and Son, from game shows. Comment, please go check out the game shows we just did. Yeah, we got so much stuff. It's like, and every day I'm thinking, between jobs at work and stuff, I'm thinking, how can I make this better? What else can I bring to the channel that is different? And not just a bunch of clips, but a bunch of things about Sanford and Son that is fun and entertaining. Also, put in the comments if you have any ideas as well. Have a great week. We will see you Friday probably. And then I got shorts throughout the week. And yeah, stay tuned. And I'm thinking maybe Saturday live show. I have to find out about my son's baseball schedule. Possible live show. We haven't done one of those in like a month and maybe 2 months, and I miss doing that because it is so fun watching and laughing Sanford and Son with our community. So have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.
Can the cat do coordinating in the junkyard? No. Okay, cat, you die.